that is really unbelievable to me. You have the city officials, state officials, federal officials, you have the officials in Quebec, and the community, all working together for one goal. Obviously, there are always bumps in the road along the way, but the fact that we have not lost our vision and the true purpose of making sure that we have a border that allows for a secure flow of people and goods to make this the premier border station in the world is really a compliment, I think, to all of you here, and what this is going to do to that $1.3 billion number. I can't wait to visit. And obviously the governor, who I worked with for 8.5 years, is a big believer of Clinton County. As you all know, he does live up here on occasion. So I think that you have all the people in the room. We're all listening, and I hope that after Henry Smith Miller gives you the presentation, that you will be just as proud as we are at GSA. I'm sure we are going to have issues or disagreements, but I think we can all agree to disagree at times, and hopefully can work through those issues. I am here. Gary has all of my numbers. The congressman called me, Congressman McHugh. I just have to thank him because the congressman called me and said, I need to talk to you. We need to make sure that this project is going on the right way. So I flew down to Washington and I met with the congressman and his staff. And he said, look, I need you to bring the design to Plattsburgh before the first of the year. And I want the community to have an opportunity to view it one last time to make sure everyone is satisfied. Please meet with Gary, and I hope you and Gary can work on this. Gary then came down. We had a very brief meeting in, I think, the beginning of December. And then I said, all right, Gary, I'll get back to you on Monday, and we'll set a date. And here we are, 4 days before Christmas. I still have a tremendous amount of shopping to do. But this is very important. You have my commitment that this will stay as one of my top priorities. And I will visit often. I will not be back until the groundbreaking, probably, unless Gary wants me to come up. And certainly I will come back. But I wish you all a very happy holiday, a healthy and happy New Year, and I look forward to seeing all of you here at the groundbreaking in May. It's my pleasure to introduce Henry Smith Miller.
Well, this is indeed an occasion. I guess I can't go ahead and thank everybody, but I have 2 pieces of written things to say. I'm not a very good speaker. I really do architecture for a living. But I'd like to thank not only all the people in this room, but all those who are not present. Members of the DHS, the CBP, the GSA, the legislatures, the politicians, and the lobbyists. There he is. Whom all contributed over the last 2 years in our collective effort to better the conditions at Champlain and make our country safer. What we're going to see is a presentation of the next steps we call in phase 2 and 3. Pictures of how the port is now, plans of how we intend to do the work, and a short movie, believe it or not, of what it would be like to pass through portions of the facility. We are especially proud to be here today and to present you, unfortunately, a sort of pictures. We are really in the business of making buildings. But before we make buildings, we have to do a lot of work, and we have to talk to constituents. We have to find out from Chris what the real problems are. We have to work with the GSA, who are our masters in a certain way, and put together a set of plans that represent an extended effort. One phase of the project up there is already complete, which is the relocation of the road, to make ready for what we call phase 2. So if I mention phase 2, really, you must know that phase 1 is already done. As Eileen pointed out, we're going to be groundbreaking as soon as the mud thaws. Our drawings are 100% complete. We're reviewing them now, picking up all the last possible tiny glitches that happen in such a big project. The dollar numbers associated with this project are quite large. It's one of the most, in fact, I guess we owe this to Gary and the need. It's one of the largest projects that the GSA has been asked to do with regard to water. It's also one of the first, and it spans the pre-9/11 era and the post-9/11 era. So we actually started in a pre-9/11 condition ourselves. So it's been a long learning curve for us to learn about the needs as they changed. But we're proud to say that we think we're pretty good at this, and we hope you'll enjoy the show. I'd also like to say if you have any questions afterwards, I'd be happy to answer them. So Richard Kowski, my boss, we've got to go back one. There. Well, you know, you always have to say what it is. I'd like to thank Tom King over here. He's my real point man. The gentleman running the slide projector is Tom King's boss, but I couldn't sit over there and do it, so we're trading places. Next, let's go in. All right, I mentioned the phases. There are 3 phases. The access road, which actually allows people to get to there's a gas control valve operation that's to the west of our site, east of our site, that needs access. Phase 2, which is really the critical step in the project, is to better the commercial processing facility. By that we mean the warehouse, the primary and secondary inspection, the truck staging area, all of the operations that are now currently crammed into a tiny little space between the existing warehouse and the Canadian border. And then finally, the phase that most of the public will see, we call that the passenger and administration building, which is the 3rd phase. Next. Okay, everybody wanted to know how much money is it? Well, we get a fee, part of this, but we don't get very much because the government manages themselves quite carefully. The thing that makes me happy, of course, is that the money's going to the building. It's going to the people who are going to make these buildings and alter the roads, and it's going to bring economic development. Phase 1 wasn't very much. Phase 2 is 20 million to 30 million. We're hoping the bids will come in at 20, and we'll soon find out. Phase 3 is 20 to 30 million, and as it says here, construction starting in spring of 5. And the Phase 3, the last piece, which is 30 to 40 million, is spring 06. All right, well, last night I was down here waiting for U.S. Air to take me up over to just on this side of Lake Champlain, and it took us 3 hours to get there. But once I got on the Vermont roads, and as I got over on the New York roads, it was a piece of cake. So I want to thank New York State DOT. We do have a relationship. This is for people in New York that don't realize that New York and Montreal are very close together. Actually, the fact of the matter is Champlain is very close to Montreal. But, next. I like this photograph because, again, it tells you about the whole link running down from New York up to Lake Champlain. And let's go in and zoom in. We see the relationship of the port currently to Lake Champlain next. And this is sort of satellite view. This is for people who are not familiar with it, but it's nice when you get one more step closer. Yes? And essentially, for those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to say this once. Passengers, and this is important for me to go through this because I'm going to explain how we're going to do the logistics. How in the world are we going to keep this port open 24/7, keep the volume of traffic going, and manage to change every aspect of the project except for 2 pieces. One is the Vacus building, which is the X-ray building, and the other one is the central pump system. Both of those are viable components of the project which we elected to keep. So passengers and buses currently go east of the facility down to New York through what we call primary inspection, and the trucks go west of the facility through a primary inspection here. There's a secondary inspection garage here. Down the pike, there's a Vacus building, which is not on this photograph, old photograph, and the warehouse, where trucks are inspected and unloaded, and then if they pass inspection, they keep going south. So basically, it's a left or right side of the building situation. Next. This is a real aerial photograph and kind of 3D, where you can see, as I pointed out, the aspect of the passenger, that's bus and and passenger traffic, and then the trucks going on this side. Now, the Canadian border is right here, and as you can imagine, when we began to inspect more and more trucks, I think Gary mentioned it, the trucks backed up through the exit control and all the way back up 5 miles, as some of you are aware, producing tremendous congestion, which I think is a personal embarrassment, and I'm glad that I'm part of it. Let's go back one more. Well, the GSA in its wisdom looked over here and they saw a great big empty field. And they said, well, you know, we could buy that property over there and we could manage to stretch all the incoming traffic into a truck staging area, which would relieve the southbound commercial traffic and get it essentially out of the way so it can be processed in an orderly fashion. Next. Okay, how did I get involved? Well, before I was interviewed for the project, because I like to be thorough, I got in an airplane, went to Burlington, rented a car, but I didn't go across by ferry, I went by the north, and I actually went into Canada and came back and decided that I would, for a moment, think like a Canadian citizen. I drove up, and I fortunately had a camera, and it was okay to take pictures. I guess at that time I was still kind of in Canada. And so I noticed that the front of the building was in darkness. I couldn't get a picture of it. Next. And I said to myself, why is this building so dark and foreboding? The Wall Street Journal said I said it was a sort of Darth Vader vision of America. It's true, of course, because the north-facing part of the building is perpetually in shadow. Well, you know, I'm an architect. That's my business, to think about things like that. And you can't even read. Here it says the United States of America. You can kind of get this. It's very glary. The sun, especially in the winter, is low. You have lots of problems. So, next. Then we did a little theoretical animation about what it's like to go across the border. And I wish it were darker in this room. Maybe we could turn the lights down a little bit. Yeah. If we can't, it's okay. I have no lights here. No light. All right. Sure, this is fun. Basically, when you cross the border, that's terrific. This animation is a little about the apprehension that you sense as you drive closer and closer to the border, and then you see that bilingual sign that says, "Dernier chance to get off the road." So, we go one more. So, we thought about the experience of crossing the border as not the experience of a line between two countries, but the line of the road that connects Montreal and New York. That link rather than the barrier, and how to expand that link into a smooth transition, going from 65 miles an hour down to 0, to stop, and speeding up again. So as an architect, my whole role was to think about the traffic flow and the accommodation of the visitor, visibility, and the experience of coming to the United States, and vice versa. This is a plan. Here's Canada again. As I said, you know, POV on one side and commercial on the other. And here's this great big lot. You can see this is the first phase. It's done. The road used to be riding right through the middle of it, and we built the road around the edge. Next. We call this phase 2. Now, why is phase 2 important? Well, you see, we have to keep the current building working right here, and we have to figure out a way to take all the operations of commercial nature and build in the lot a new commercial processing facility while the old one functions. So basically, we have our Canadian counterparts are planning a secondary road here, west of the cargo duty-free, which will bring trucks only down into the facility. Well, if trucks get in this line, which is currently both trucks and buses and cars, they'll come along here and come in a route which, at this point, depending on whether you have a fast identification or not, if you're a fast trucker, you can come through primary inspection, and if everything is hunky-dory, you head yourself right down, straight down to New York. If you don't have a fast card, then you have to go over here to the truck staging area, get out of the truck, walk over, see the officer, and see your broker, get back in the truck, and then go in the queue here through primary inspection again. Now, if unfortunately something doesn't seem right about your cargo, when you go through primary inspection, there are several different things that happen. If your papers are out of order, if you come through, as I said, with fast this way, or if you come through and you've done your paperwork, you're asked to come through primary inspection. At this juncture, if you don't have your paperwork, you can actually double back, follow my line carefully here, park again in the truck staging area, and repeat the experience until you get it right. So this keeps everybody flowing. Well, you know, I have to say that there are several people from my office who could not be here. One of them is Lindsay Smith, who's been working very closely with Christopher, and the other one is actually another woman named Starling Keene, and they worked this out. I call it the intestine. Very interesting, but it does work. If primary inspection it looks like your cargo is problematic, there are two options. One, you can come down here and have it x-rayed in an existing Bacchus building, which is a great big x-ray. Or number two, if you're really in trouble, I think you're going to back in here to the warehouse and have your truck unloaded. But basically, all of these activities that I've outlined that are happening in the yellow area of this plan currently happen down here, don't they? Primary inspection, secondary inspection, cargo, right? So basically what we're doing is we're building a brand new cargo processing facility, which is of our primary concern, west of the existing facility, which is shown in gray, so that that can be fully up and running when we do the next phase. Now, I'm not going to show you the next slide because this gets really complicated. Basically, when we put all the commercial processing operations to the west of the facility, what happens to this area right here, west of the main building? Well, there's no traffic there. So guess what? That's where we're going to do the next step. Richard? This is very complicated, but basically this shows that we're going to have the outbound here operating, right? And cars and buses, see the big arrow going down through past the existing administration building. So the traffic coming and going from Canada, United States, of a commercial exit and, gee, this is complicated, passenger and buses will still go through the regular old way. Meanwhile, we'll start to do work in here, west of the existing building, building a new administration building. The commercial, of course, this will all be working fully functional, will be happening and bypass it. My father taught me how to play chess, and I never thought I'd really need to know about those skills of moving pieces around over time. But that's what we'll be doing there. And of course, as I said, we can never stop the traffic. Next. This shows the final phase without any landscaping. Basically, as you can see, the blue is, this is two things at once. The yellow is what I call phase 2, and the blue is phase 3. So you can see here that passenger primary has new booths at administration building, secondary inspection, etc., with all the traffic going south. The trucks, of course, now this is going to be a several-year-old facility. The trucks will be coming through the commercial inspection facility and so on. Export control will be developed as well, and we're working on that at this time. How to allow for the inspecting of trucks and get them out of the way of the passenger vehicles and so on their way out. One of my favorite projects is still up in the air, but Canadians are here, is to actually work with the Canadian on the export side to keep traffic flowing actually out of the country as well. Next. On the final picture, which no longer has any phases, I'd love to go, I get Richard to run backwards four slides. No, you don't need to do it, but what we're looking at is something like $60 million worth of work over 4 years. Actually, more like, as Gary pointed out, 1999 to 2006, right? Is that 7? Yeah. Next. When we were doing this project, we used a lot of tools as designers, and I want this to be entertaining for you. Not only, I want you to just sort of understand how we work as your design team. We had civil engineer. Can we push the little red dot in the middle, yeah, to one side, like that one. This is a 3D animation that we made of the civil engineer's solution for the parking lot. We don't call it parking lot, staging area. We had civil engineers on board and landscape architects. They're very different people. The civil engineer believes the road's got to work. The landscape architect says the road's got to work, but it can't destroy the environment. So we have lots of consultants on our team, and we pitted one against the other to make sure that we got the right solution for you. These are the two drawings. The first one was the civil's point of view, which was a lot of cut and fill, and the second one was the landscapes, which tend to use the existing grade. The project is a LEED certified. That means it has to be very economic in its energy use. This is an international policy about building. It's global to help save the environment and conserve resources. Let's do the next slide. All right, back to the north-facing, kind of scary condition. You don't know where to go. You can't see anybody. It's cold outside, and you're somewhat apprehensive about coming to the United States, and maybe it's your first visit. Next. The sketch. All right, well, I didn't used to keep these because I thought that making the sketch was the easy part, and the collaboration between the hundreds of people that work on the project, the client, the designers, the engineers was the important part. But I decided this was an amazing sketch. This is the ground. The building is this is for the administration building. It was the key idea we had. And of course, south is over here. I cut through the building. This is the roof, right? And here's the ground. And the 2'4" is actually how high a desk is. I'm very concerned about how people work in buildings we design and build, and what their life is like. It's not just enough to be kept warm, but I think you need light. You need to have a pleasant place to conduct your business. Well, the key thing, remember, this is the facade of the building facing north. And I said to myself, how can I get light to the front of my building? I thought, well, maybe I'll have a mirror out here and bounce the sun back at it. And then, I don't know where this came from. Actually, we have a project in Corning, which is a little south of here. It's much warmer. And we put a skylight in some offices. And I said, well, what would happen if you put the skylight behind this wall, and adjusted the parapet here? That's the turn-up part of the roof. And so that the sun from the south could actually strike the back of the facade facing north. Then I had a problem. I said, well, the building, most buildings' walls are opaque. And so I looked around and I noticed that there are a lot of industrial buildings that use a particular kind of glass called channel glass, which has a high insulating value. It was developed in Europe, but this product is made in the United States. I said, supposing we made the northern facing skin of the building out of this industrial glass that factories are made with, and had a skylight here that let the south sunlight hit the back of the glass. I said, that's great. How am I going to tell everybody about that? So I tried to make some drawings, which I'm going to show you, to talk about the experience and that idea. Next slide. This is another issue. These are the primary inspection booths. Not only were we working on the environment for the staff of the port and how that would be, but we thought about what's it like to visit the United States of America. And if you remember my first slide, I couldn't see the sign. So when you drive into the United States from Canada, I want you to be proud that you're arriving in a place. I want you to know where you're going. I want you to have lots of visibility. I want you to feel at home in our democracy. It's very important to me and to everybody else, I think. These are the booths, which we worked on to make them very safe and environmentally stable, so you don't freeze to death working there. We learned about the frozen pipes at Champlain. We asked all the questions. Next. Our building. This is the commercial processing warehouse. It's a great, big, handsome warehouse. Very economically put together. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bays. It's going to be corrugated metal. We have a signage program on the southwest side of it to mitigate the sun and the glare for efficiency, and also to give it a little zing so that you know where to go. We thought the word commercial was a pretty good, thing to put on the building. But basically, it looks to me like a very straightforward building, which it is. The roof slopes to allow the snow to actually move to one end or the other end and get off the building in the proper way. Next. My favorite part, the administration building. This is a picture looking from the north of the facility of admin building of this peculiar glass that we found, the industrial glass. And here you can see the skylights that, of course, are facing the sun to the south. At the lower level, we have a group of windows which will allow the port personnel to look out and watch what's happening in the coming and going of not only the passenger vehicles arriving, but also the commercial vehicles coming from the north. So the building not only will glow and in the daytime, it will glow at night, but it is also visible and friendly in certain ways. So that when you come to it, it doesn't look like a bunker. Next. This is I've risen up to one of those imaginary spots that only architects can get you. So it's a bird's eye view, where you can see the bus coming up on the POV side of the building. That would be the east side, and the trucks going down the west side. And here you can see the skylights that are in back of the glass wall. Next. This is always fun. To explain what it's like to be there, we thought, okay, let's make a virtual model. And everybody's always familiar with going to the movies, so I thought, why not make an architecture movie? So here you are driving up to the primary inspection as a passenger would from Canada. You slow down there, you say, yes, I want to go to New York, and you move on. To the right is the admin building which I spoke of before. This is really fun. And we're not Disney, we're building buildings, but we think that this is important that people can understand the nature of what we project for buildings. This is again driving by the bus lobby and so on. And one of my favorite aspects of this project is the primary inspection booth, because it's really the gateway to the United States. And so the booth will have actually a folded metal plate roof that can be brought to the site on a flatbed truck, assembled there, and columns and booths. This is the warehouse that I mentioned before, and of course the great big sign here which faces the south and west. Next. Some views. Actually, I think these are included in the handout. I think so, yes. This is actually amazing. But we used to do this by hand when I started being an architect. And now we build the model in software, and then we add colors, and it's all scaled and perfectly done. You are standing in a waiting area for bus passengers who must debark the bus when they come in and have their documents checked. And you're looking back at the primary inspection booth, that's a folded metal plate with the booths here, and that sign that says, Welcome to the United States. And across the median, this is the export control building. So actually, I have put you, our audience, in the position in the building that our visitors will enjoy. And you can see the skylight here bringing light down. The lobby is quite open. It's pleasant. It's meant to be accommodating. Of course, we also have all sorts of necessary security situations. I said in the Wall Street Journal that actually our facility is a very complicated screening device. Well, we're screening our visitors, but we're also welcoming them at the same time. So this is a delicate task that your architectural and engineering team must address. Next. Oh yes, from the north of the building, it's one of my favorite views here actually. This is the north end of the administration building, and looking to the west, you can actually see the primary inspection booth for the commercial traffic, as you can see these trucks coming around after they've had their inspection. You also get a glimpse of the detail of the channel glass above the window. So this is going to be a light and airy environment to work when there is sun. in the winter. And I can assure you that we have spent lots. Last night, coming across Lake Champlain, I realized why my particular window wall, my consultants were so worried about the thermal value of our window system. We knew how cold it was here. We've engineered actually the very mullions to accommodate the severe difference between the temperature inside the building and outside. And we've actually had discussions with the GSA about refining these parameters in future buildings at the northern border. The southern border doesn't have this problem, but the northern border does. So I'm happy to say that this is a sunny day, but, out there it's very cold. So this is one of my favorite views, and let's go to the next picture. They say that ideas come around every 60 years or 50 years. We produced this design and made the 3D view of it. Here's the inspection booth. Here's the columns that support this folded plate, which has to be brought, as I said, on a truck. License plate readers and so on. The administration building beyond, this long, low building with this warm green glow from the glass, and the lobby. But when I looked at it, I saw a 57 Chevy. Well, I'm 62 years old, and 57 minus 42 is, I think, 15. That's just about when I realized I liked cars. So something about the automotive aspect of the car floated through into the design of this canopy, which of course is for cars. I'm very proud of that fact, and we're looking forward to actually putting this in place. Next. Backing away, as I said before, you can see the administration building, secondary inspection. Next. This is an overview. Let me go through the pieces. Remember, I talked about the trucks coming down from, if anybody has a question, by the way, it's a lot to talk about $60 million worth of work over 4 years and 15 minutes. So if I've lost some of you or you have particular questions, I'll be happy to answer them. As we said, this is the trucks coming down from Canada, the truck staging area. This is primary inspection booth for commercial. The three situations, you come back through here to truck staging, you come through here and you get offloaded, you come through this way and you get to New York, you come through this way, there's long queuing areas here to separate the traffic while they're on their way to different destinations to the backup. This is primary inspection for the passenger vehicle. You notice the bus goes by and drops the passengers off at the lobby here. Passengers get out, they get processed, the bus goes to the secondary inspection booth, and there's a waiting area here so that we get the bus away from the passengers. Export control operates this way. This is northbound. There's a way to divert the trucks over here for inspection and also unloading in the booth. And this is a double layer booth here with a secondary inspection beyond. Next. Don't push button. Oh boy, more detail. You want more detail? Okay, more detail. This is what we're building, and here you can see this is, it's a little hard to imagine. These are these two lanes coming down from Canada going in the big loop, and these are the primary inspection booths for all of the trucks coming in with the license plate readers and the arches. And here you're invited, as I said, to go around if you haven't got your paperwork and re-enter the facility. The ground floor of the commercial processing building, or warehouse, has two major constituents. In the purple is the broker's facility. The reddish, I don't know what you call it, reddish maroon is actually port personnel. And they share actually a common lobby here for all the operations. So basically, we brought these two distinct operations together, and they're joined by a lobby. The faceted surface here is actually the reception desk. So it's a shared responsibility between the port personnel and the brokers to process the commercial traffic. Next. This is a detail here of, as I said, that's the actual desk. We've dealt with issues about how to go upstairs. There's an elevator in this location. There are also toilet facilities inside the building, and an issue in our project for a while. There's a second floor above the brokers that will be used by port personnel, so we indicate that there's a stairwell here. The broker group has their own washroom facilities at the bottom in what I call the blue area. Next. I don't know, this is my most favorite moment. So we made a drawing of it, and it's from the working drawing, and it says states up there, and there's a truck, and there's the inspector, and there's the driver, and there's one of those great big trucks bringing all that commerce to the United States. What? I was wondering if you figured that out. All right. Good for you. Now, why did we do that? Well, if the truck was going the right way, the United States would be backwards, wouldn't it? Because we are actually, take the truck out of the picture, we're looking as though we were from Canada going south. However, we wanted to talk about the relationship of the driver to the inspector. So it's just a little bit of artifice. We had bets in the office how quickly somebody would find it. I think you got it within 3 seconds. So, but anyway, we're happy about that. I think this is the last slide. It's been a pleasure working with everybody here, as I said, and I don't want to go on talking. That's the boring part. I want to start building. Update, we have completed our drawing. Yes?
Truck staging areas, how large, how many trucks?
Well, that's a very good question. Have my notes. We have 70 truck spaces. We have, is 70, do you want the facts?
What?
I asked Lindsay, I said, Lindsay, we better get some facts because, it's not enough to design the whole thing and figure out what you're doing. People want to know how big. Phase 2 is 20 to 30 million, you saw that before. The cargo building is 73,000 square feet. This is a big project, and it's being built very economically. All right, 70 truck parking spaces, 9 commercial primary inspection, 2 of which will be fast. Phase 2 is 56 acres. I've got a zinger at the end of it. Phase 3 is a 25,000 square foot administration building. I don't know how Gary Douglas made this happen, but we got a 5,200 square foot veterinary facilities. Took that from Vermont, I guess. 6,000. Well, I've been a player for 2.5 years on this project, so I'm beginning to learn it. You fly into Burlington, it's a little bit of a sim. So. All right. Well, I'm sure Gary will get direct flights too. 6,000 square feet of export control. 10 passenger primary, 2 of which will be Nexus. 4 export booths. 275 employee parking spaces. Now, one of the things we noticed when we came up here that you risked your life getting into the park. Well, we came looking. We tried to find a parking spot up there, and if big trucks are zooming around, and I'm in my little rental car. I survived. So we have an organized parking facility. Now, the existing facility is 27 acres. When we get through, we're going to have 110 acres. That's more than threefold, right? So I think that the government, state, GSA, as I started, everybody in this room and everybody outside of this room deserves a hand for helping us get a job. No kidding. But we, as I said, we're proud as somebody who spent his youth going up to somebody else. So this is the first, as Anita said and as Gary said, and we're proud to be part of the team. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
With the local building trades, the building trades members in this area built the existing border crossing back in the 60s and 70s. We maintained it for all these years. We're excited about your new project. I assume East Bay has brought us a complete package when you did it as far as the GC, the electrical, mechanical. And secondly, is prevailing wage attached to this with the Davis Bacon Act or type of money?
Somebody's got to answer that question. The first half, yes.
Well, no, the first half, I think you were talking about Wick's law, separate packages for, no, this would be one package for the general contractor who will be responsible for managing all the lower trades, so that's how this job will be done, that's how federal
As far as
government.
prevailing wage, though, is that set by the federal government or the Davis?
Yeah, Davis Bacon Act compliance.
We have very good drawings. And specs.
We don't.
And specs. Thanks, all right, thank you, Karen.
We have a couple of other pieces of the total puzzle here that we want to get in front of you this morning, too. As I noted in the beginning, the state of New York, Governor Pataki, have been incredible partners in this. And in fact, I would say to an unusual degree. It would be very easy for a state to say, you know, well, geez, we've got our own budget problems and challenges, and that's the federal government's responsibility up there. You know, we don't need to be too involved in that. And that hasn't been the state's attitude whatsoever. Many of you were here a few years ago when the governor joined us for the first Quebec-New York Economic Summit here in Plattsburgh, and the governor on that day committed up to $6 million of the state's federal transportation dollars to swing it back around to put it into a federal government project, because he understood how important this was to economic development in the state, and therefore believed that the state ought to be making that really exceptional and rather incredible degree of commitment on the part of the state. And the State Department of Transportation has been an incredible partner in this whole venture, even beyond that, because of course, again, we want to make sure this works. And it doesn't work unless the highway systems and connections on either side work to their optimum degree as well. So my pleasure at this point for the latest perspectives from the state of New York on their participation in this total vision to introduce a great partner of ours from the very beginning, Jerry Chaffee, Director of the Mobility Management Bureau from DOT in Albany. Jerry?
Thanks, Jerry. As Eileen said earlier, as this effort has evolved, there's certainly been a lot of bumps in the road, and we can first admit that there were a number of bumps. But I think what has happened is, as the agencies have come together, I think we here at DOT are very happy with the partnership that really has been formed up here, both with the Chamber, MTQ, Transportation Department of Quebec, both the U.S. and Canadian Customs, and all of GSA. I think this partnership really has allowed us to really look at this entire complex up here, not as a DOT element or an MTQ element or a GSA element, but really to look at it as one collective of project that we all had to really work together. And we're really happy with the partnership that we created. And I think as we move forward, and the projects that we're advancing and other agencies are advancing, we're really going to complement each other. And I think it's going to help us and allow us to really have a facility as well as approaches up here that are both safe, secure, and efficient, which I think is important. When we first started this effort, there was concern, well, gee, if we want to make it secure, the security affect the safety, the security affect the mobility of vehicles. And it was really our belief from the beginning, even though security and the efficiency really could work at odds, there really was a lot of potential to really ensure that they really work together. I think one of the things that we collectively, I think, are really happy about is that as we move forward, we've really shown that we can provide a secure facility at the same time that we're also able to provide a better flow of trucks and autos through the plaza. And so I think we're really happy with that. Just a little background, and from New York State DOT's point of view, we really felt that this was important. It really wasn't our project necessarily, but really in a sense it was, because it was a gateway into New York, and we're really looking obviously to advance the economic development and traffic within New York. And so right from the beginning, some of the interim improvements that are really in place up there now, we provided either expertise working closely with GSA or Customs, and even in some cases provide some funds for some of the interim improvements that they're really in place there. And as Gary's mentioned, the governor committed $6 million of state funds to this project. And we thought it was very easy. In the beginning, it was almost thought of as simple as just sort of writing a check and sending the check over to GSA. But we discovered it's so unique in states providing money to the federal government, that's really been very difficult to just go through the bureaucratic paperwork to get it over there. But we are committed, and it will be there, and it will be an important part of some of the early elements with the second phase of the effort. From the bigger perspective, sort of beyond the border, in New York State, we're sort of wrapping up now our I-87 Auto 15 multimodal corridor study. The final draft report was sent out to the advisory committee last week, and we're really looking to finalize that effort probably sometime in January or February. And sort of quoting from the report, the goal of that study was really a proactive effort to identify and assess initiatives and opportunities to improve transportation service of all the users in the corridor, be it people that trade, inner-city, tourists, or even commuters, providing opportunity for the corridor and the surrounding regions to realize the economic potential resulting from changing global national economic forces and trends. And I think, as Elaine mentioned earlier, our commissioners have seen for a number of years now that we in New York State really can't just look at New York State, but really have to look at New York State from the perspective where it fits into the national and the world economy. And that means really working beyond our borders to really work closely with our partners north of the border to really ensure that New York State really can take advantage of and do what we need to do to take advantage of the changing global economy. And that's really something that we're really pushing as we move forward, is a look beyond just transportation per se, but what transportation can do to really enhance the economy. In terms of the study, we've identified a corridor vision teaching plan for the entire corridor from the border all the way down to New York, down to Albany and south. But what I want to do is touch on a couple of the projects that are specific to this area up here in Champlain that are really advancing right now. One is just south of the plaza. We're looking to develop a commercial truck inspection facility, safety inspection facility, which is really unique to New York, to establish one really at the border to really inspect the truckers as they enter the country. And it's not just a traditional pull all the vehicles over. We're really looking to make it a smart inspection facility where we'll have some screening so that we're really pulling over the vehicles that really suspect there may be some problems with, and trying to have most of the vehicles really go straight through. So really being electronic screening devices in there to really make it really a smart inspection facility. We've done some of the survey and right-of-way work, and we really look to advance that project in concert with the GSA project, and also, as you'll hear in a few minutes, in concert with commercial truck inspection facility that Quebec is developing just north of the border. And the other thing we're also looking to do is to expand our queue detection warning system. Those of you that have come up the Northway may have realized that there's a queue detection trailer down around exit 42, and as the trucks back up to exit 42, what it does, it triggers some variable message signs between exits 42 and 41 to warn motorists as they're approaching that traffic is backed up. Really like to do is really expand that and make it much more automated. And in addition, what we're looking to do is investigate the use of Easy Pass as sort of in-vehicle probes to really allow us to really monitor travel time and speeds through this entire area. And really want to do with that information, obviously share it with our partners at the U.S. and Canadian Customs, NTQ, as well as providing it to the general public, really as part of our whole statewide information exchange network, where we have this information, we provide it to travelers, not when they're at the particular cause of the delay, but before they get there, so that it allows the travelers to be a little smarter about what they can expect, and maybe divert or alter their plans to accommodate and to work around the delay. So there are a few of the things that we're really working on, and as I mentioned earlier, we're really happy with the partners that we've established, and we're really looking forward to working with our partners. We really see a lot of these projects come to fruition over the next couple of years. It's been exciting, and I'm actually looking forward to the spring, not so much it'll be warmer weather, but also to experience the groundbreaking for the electric project, and as well as some of the other projects. So with that, I'll turn it back to Jerry.
And last but not at all least, these are partners from the Transportation Ministry of Quebec. Very early on, after we began to react to the situation and develop a vision way back in 1999, we knew that that vision was going to call for some solid partnership and some real commitment north of the border. That all of the work and all of the effort was from the border south, that it would not in fact be what we wanted at Champlain. That particularly our vision for new commercial processing facilities would require construction of a new border crossing segregated from Auto Route 15 for trucks. So how do you go about getting that done? Well, I'll never forget the meeting. I had spoken with our good friend Claude Bachand, who's the member of Parliament for what we frequently refer to as the Plattsburgh riding. The riding of St. Joseph Richelieu, just north of the border. And we posed him at the time if we could just get some face time with the Quebec Transport Minister. We need to brief him on the unfolding vision of what's happening at Champlain and get the ministry really into this conversation to make some things happen in a timely way north of the border. And Claude had me come up to a PQ fundraising event in Iberville. And we had a side meeting with Guy Chevret, who was the Quebec Transport Minister at the time, and laid it out in front of him, and there was just instant agreement, instant understanding from the top representatives of the Quebec government as to how important this was. And he made a commitment that day. He said, "We will make this happen." And they have gone forward since then through 2 governments and 3 transport ministers. But that commitment has remained intact, and the relationship has only broadened and deepened in terms of their engagement in the process, leading to a remarkable announcement a couple of years ago of commitment by Quebec and the Canadian government to a number of important things now unfolding north of the border. And so I'm very pleased to call on our partner, Benoit Cowet, from the Quebec Transportation Ministry, to update us on all of that. And I'm also very pleased, I believe we're going to have a bit of an update or announcement on another related matter today that we weren't sure up until a week ago that it was going to be possible to unveil today, but it came together. So we have an additional announcement to make.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, everybody. Very glad to be here again. I'm coming to Plattsburgh more often and often by these times. Working with all those people is, I would say, is a great pleasure. From NTQ point of view, as Gary said, we had the commitment of 3 ministers, actually. I'm the only one who remains. Did you know this, Gary? I'm here from the beginning. I've seen those ministers commit themselves again and again, and I have to carry out and do the job. Well, what we're doing mostly is support all those initiatives. We're not in the business of security. We're not in the customs business either. We're in the transportation business. We're providing access. We're providing transportation system the safer way we can. So, for that matter, for the Corridor of Commerce, Quebec, New York Corridor of Commerce, actually we have invested 75 million Canadian. Well, a million Canadian is more than it was a couple of weeks ago. I'm proud to announce it. Let's say that we put all that money, mostly at the spend at the exit of Montreal. To get in the corridor, you have to get out of that island. So we've put 50 million to correct curves, to improve the road, to improve the ITS we have there. And the rest of the money will be spent, and is actually spent, on most of the border zone area, I would say. We have 3 specific projects that could be interesting for you. The first is that we're working closely with New York to install truck inspection facilities. Actually, we're the final design. This truck inspection facility, I would say, is inspired by the FAST program. I've seen the FAST program and I've said, well, this is brilliant. They're focusing on the bad guys and let the good guys go on. So why don't we do the same thing for the enforcement for commercial vehicles? So we're going to focus on the bad guys. And the good guys may continue their road. So they won't spend times at this truck inspection facility. The principle is that we're going to have some device, electronic device, ITS, Intelligence Transportation System, prior to the truck inspection facility. And this will be connected to the scale or weight scale station. And the good guys, what I call the good guys, will pass over because we will recognize them. We will weight their truck while they are in motion, and so on and so forth. And the bad guys will be invited to come with us, so we're going to spend all the time. This is quite new because we don't have such a truck inspection facilities, that kind of system in Quebec actually. So it's a premiere. Not only that we're going to put it up right at the border, which is a premiere too, but we're going to connect all those systems to develop that kind of truck inspection facilities in the rest of Quebec. It means a lot of money invested. It means a lot of effort. It means a new concept to be developed. So we're putting a lot of effort in. The second project is the connection with the Port of Excellence. As you've seen on those slides from the Smith-Miller architects, we are connecting to that project as we have to separate trucks from cars. Actually, you've seen how it goes from Canada to get to U.S. Cars are just beside trucks, and there's 2 lanes of trucks sometimes, 2 lanes of car in a 3 lanes road. So we're trying to separate this. Actually, we're not only the only player in this, and this is particular for all the border crossing projects. We cannot work isolatedly. We cannot work alone. Even if I would build a 12-lane highway, deluxe highway, let's say, it wouldn't fit with the 3 booths that they have on U.S. Custom, for example. So we would create a bigger problem than we have now. They would be spread on the large, on 12 lanes instead of 12 kilometers. So it wouldn't correct any problem. So we have to work together. I think we have a very good relationship, both with the GSA team, Thomas King. We're working very well together. We're working especially very well with Chris Berry from Port Director of U.S. Customs. We have developed a very good relationship with all the stakeholders. Actually, we're finalizing the truck lane, the truck access to the Port of Excellence with our friend from CBSA. Last meeting should be in January, I hope. There is a lot of details to carry on in these projects, and what I've seen is that the general concept is quite easy to finish. The devil is in the details. I realize that now, after 3 years. So this is the second project. We should be right in place to connect with the project as soon as the construction of Port of Excellence will begin. The third project is a traffic management system. As you can imagine, the bigger concern that I have on Highway 15, and I was traveling with my friend Marc-Henri from External Relations from the Trip Transportation, and I was telling him from the 6 kilometer, be very aware. There could be a truck stopped just in front of you, and we're on a highway, we don't expect this. So be very careful. I don't want to go in the back of that truck. And we have, as you know, unfortunately, we have fatalities in the past on the Highway 15. So we want to warn people that there might be congestion. We want to warn them also that they might be expecting 25, 27, an hour delay to get to the border. And for that matter, we're working very closely with our counterpart in CBSA and our friends in U.S. Customs to install devices until the border. So we will be able to give you a real-time information on what's the border delay today, what's the border delay at this moment. Fortunately, if Port of Excellence and all the new process, FAST and so on, are doing their job correctly, there shouldn't be any delay. We're going to have spent our money for nothing. Very good, very good. I'm proud of it. If we can say on that board, 0 time delay, perfect. That means that we worked perfectly together. But, well, if in case there's a red code, in case of we cannot miss, just one occasion would be too much for this safety feature. Also, we're supporting our industry, and that's why we've worked very hard to understand the border process. And after looking for how can we support our truckers, because when they're stuck in the lane, the best practice they have is to call me on my cell phone and says, well, I'm stuck here. What did you do last week to correct this? So, well, we have to support our industry, and then for that matter, they have to be supported for their paperwork. And after speaking with Chris Perry from CBS, well, so CB, there's too much acting. I've talked with Chris Perry, and he told me that one of the problems was that those guys were presenting themselves with not all the paperwork done. He said they should have worked paperwork before getting into the platform. So we've looked at what would be possible, and we found a partner that was faced with this problem in the Ambassador Bridge. And here I'm going to let Skip McMahon, and he's with Sandy Billman from the Detroit-Windsor Bridge Authority. And they've put in place some kind of a truck assistance center for the trucker, and they are coming in Quebec. We have, I think, a very good relationship. Ministry of Transportation support this initiative, but it's still a private initiative. So I'll let maybe Skip McMahon explain what it is about.
Thanks, Benoit. Good morning, everybody, and thanks so much for having us join you this morning. I was up in Plattsburgh, I think for a meeting in the summer here, if I remember correctly, and I can confirm there is a beach here because there was McDonald's right behind it, and I stopped and had a cup of coffee, so it's out there somewhere. Exactly where, I'm not sure, but I know it's in the area. I want to congratulate everybody watching your presentation. There's some great things happening in Champlain and Lacal at the border point. Owning and operating the Ambassador Bridge, I think you'll understand pretty quickly, we do understand very, very in-depth the need to move traffic. As you may or may not know, we're the busiest border crossing in North America. We handle about, on the average, about 12 to 13,000 trucks a day, Monday to Friday. So we clearly understand the situation that you all face up and down the New York Highway and the Quebec Highway leading to and from the border points. There are things coming that U.S. Congress post 9/11 asked U.S. CBP to put in place. They're coming very quickly to your area. Chris, I think your date is somewhere in mid-January that the Trade Act pre-notification compliance is going to come into play. I take it you're going to have informed compliance to start with. Is that a fair assumption to take, that you'll be educating drivers before we start putting the hammer down? So what that means is that I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40 to 50% of the business that now comes to the Champlain border, the figure we see, those drivers need some assistance of some type. We have opened 2 processing centers in the province of Ontario, one in London, just outside London, and one in Windsor, where the purpose of the processing centers is quite simply to assist truck drivers getting the information into the hands of their brokers so they can get it into the customs database in a timely fashion. So we set them up on what's called a PAP, pre-arrival processing release. And the goal for all the parties is to get that truck released at primary rather than have him or her have to go in and park, see their broker, spend an hour or 2 or 3, whatever it takes that day in that particular situation. We started our facility in London, Ontario in March of 2003. We really didn't know what kind of a business it was going to become. We were very confident there were enough drivers out there that needed our assistance that they would come to the center. I can tell you that in the first 3 months, I can remember the day we got 25 trucks a day and we thought, Yahoo, we're on our way. That probably took us 2.5 months. Today in London, Monday to Friday, we're assisting anywhere between 700 and 1,000 truckers a day. So we knew the business would grow by word of mouth. We knew the business would grow from truck driver to truck driver. You can put all the ads in the paper you want, but if a truck driver doesn't think he's getting benefit for his dollar and he's saving time, his truck's not parked, he's really not interested in stopping. They want to go. Our goal is to move trucks, not stop them. So our process takes 10, 15 minutes. They'll stop, grab a coffee, etc., use the washroom facilities and be on their way. And instead of then, when they get to the border, being stopped and parked and spending time at the brokers, that truck is released at primary the great majority of the time, and he's on his way down the road. It's been an extremely successful venture. It has helped us out at the Ambassador Bridge tremendously because those trucks are now not parked, taking up space in our parking lots, which nobody wants. Doesn't do industry, doesn't do business any good. I met Gary at, I want to say a couple of things before I go on. I met Gary at a couple of trade quarter conferences down in the Niagara Falls area. He leaves little doubt at the conferences or during the conferences or when he leaves the conferences what area he's supporting. There's not much doubt where he comes from, and everybody's pretty clear on what his goals are. I've got to say that there aren't many champions I've met of certain areas much stronger than this guy, and I know he doesn't owe me money, and I see him about once every 3 years. But I can tell you that from a perspective of an outsider looking in, I knew who Gary Douglas was when somebody said, "Oh, that's where the meeting is." Okay, I know who it is. Our facility in Quebec could not have been possible without the cooperation of our friend Benoit from the ministry. At the meeting last summer, there was talk about getting these types of centers up and running, and Benoit wasn't quite sure how to do all that. I mean, he's in the business of building roads and fixing roads and making highways work. And about, I don't know, September, October, we came in for a visit, and he was telling me, well, he's got to get this done, he's got to get that done, he's got to get these guys in place, and he'd like me to meet with so-and-so, and he'd like us to do this. And I said, well, that's okay, Benoit, but I just came to tell you that we're opening a center in Montreal. And he grabbed me by the shoulders and he said, "You've made my day, thank you so much." Those 4 files now moved off to the side. He didn't have to make many phone calls. Since that point in time, I can't tell you how much cooperation that we've gotten from the ministry and the province, and it's really been an exciting partnership. Our center will open, we're targeting January the 10th. The latest will be January the 17th. We will be open to assist drivers prior to full-blown enforcement of the Trade Act and when USCBP is demanding full compliance. We've done that in a very short fashion. Probably in 90 days we're getting this business up and running, which you don't do those things without a lot of cooperation. So I want to say thank you. The location, just so you know, is 6500 Grand Allée Boulevard. I'm saying it right? Near Highway 30. It's about maybe 3 minutes right off Highway 30. It's the best location we can find today. We'll continue to work towards improving that location if it's necessary. And the last thing I just want to mention is in about another year or so, southbound for you, northbound for us, because being in Windsor, we look to the north to see the United States, which is sort of unique when you think about it. But northbound traffic into Canada is also, drivers are also going to need some assistance because the same type of regulations are going into play through what's called ACI inbound Canada. It looks like the fall to early winter of '06 for that process to take place by the time Customs and Border Services Agency is in place to deal with that. We will be opening a center in this general area to assist those drivers. We haven't got a location yet, but we will be opening a center to assist drivers heading south or northbound into Canada. And Jerry, as a private company, we have no problem dealing with how checks get transferred from state to other businesses. Our paperwork's a lot less cumbersome, so we'll be happy to talk to you as we go through that process. Sandy and I are going to be around. We want to thank you for the invite, and Benoit, thanks for all your cooperation. We appreciate the help. Thanks.
So there you have it. Every element of what we could have hoped for, including a new one to assist north of the border at making this truly a port of excellence. We have a mantra at the Chamber in terms of our strategic efforts these days, and it's this: where things move is where prosperity occurs. And today, with this multiple Christmas present from our partners on both sides of the border, I suggest that we have made this area, we've put this area in an excellent position to be a place where things move. And therefore, the gift isn't just movement, the gift is future prosperity. Thank you all for coming. I know our friends will be happy to answer questions and talk with you afterwards. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas.